Hi guys, happy to see you all back through this video. We're just going to see about the infrastructure as a service, okay, and we will dig a bit deeper into that particular topic, particular services, how the particular service is going to be provided by the cloud service provider, okay. And so in this slide we are focusing on this only, and the basics of virtualization, and in the upcoming videos we are going to see the rest of the topics, okay. So in this video we're just going to see very basics about the virtualization concept. As in a previous video I have told you that the importance of virtualization, right? So the virtualization is act as a backbone. Virtualization is act as a backbone for the cloud computing environment. So because whatever the services that CSP is going to provide, whatever the services that the cloud service provider is going to provide, everything they are providing the services in a virtual manner only. Either it could be infrastructure as a service, or it could be platform as a service, or it could be software as a service. So any kind of services that are being provided by the cloud service provider, everything everything in the manner of virtual manner only, everything through the virtualization concept only. So without virtualization, without virtualization, the cloud environment or cloud service provider are not in a they are not in a position to deliver any kind of services to the cloud users, okay. So normally the virtualization acts as a backbone for cloud computing, for delivering the services to the end users, okay. So let us see one by one, okay. So coming to the very basics of the virtualization, what do you mean by virtualization? In the sense, to create a virtual version of something, it is a creation of virtual version of something. As you all know, the virtual version of something, it could be any IT hardware resources, or it could be an operating system, or it could be an application, it could be anything, okay. So if it is an infrastructure, then that could be comes under the infrastructure as a service. If they are providing an environment to execute or develop our own application, then it comes under the platform as a service. If we are if the virtual version is created for application, then it comes under the software as a service, okay. So in a previous video we have seen that we have seen about the IaaS, PaaS and SaaS type, right? Okay. So whatever the services that are provided by the cloud environment, everything could be done with the help of virtualization only, okay. And coming to the virtualization, the perfect definition for virtualization, so it is a technique that allows to share a single physical instance of a resource or an application among multiple customers and organization. How it could be done in the sense of which, so with the help of hypervisor, with the help of the VM virtual machine monitor, the virtual environment could be created. Virtual environment could be created, okay, for delivering the services to the end users, okay. And if the virtualization comes for infrastructure, with the help of virtualization, it offers infrastructure as a service. It's normally, so it could be any kind of services like IaaS or PaaS or SaaS, everything that could be done based on on-demand computing. So on-demand computing and pay as you go, pay as you use, or pay as you go, or pay per use, okay. And these two things would be comes under cloud computing environment for delivering any type of services to the users. So on-demand computing in the sense, when the user is requesting, in that time only, for the period of time only, the particular services will be given back to that will be delivered to the cloud users, okay. And for the duration of, and for the utilization of services, the charges will be get calculated, okay. The on-demand computing, which means that when the user is requesting the particular service, then the services will be given to the user, okay. And the pay as you use, in the sense, pay as you go, in the sense, only for the utilization of services, only for the utilization period only, the charges will be get calculated for the end users, okay. This is how normally the cloud service provider are providing their services to the cloud users based on their needs, based on the user needs, okay. And coming to the virtualization, two things we have to make a note of it. One is the host machine, and another was the guest machine. The host machine, which means that on which the virtual machine is going to create, or on which the virtual machine is going to execute. When coming to the guest machine, normally when you are creating a virtual machine, that will be referred as, normally when you are creating a virtual machine, that will be referred as guest machine. Okay, and these two things are very important when you are coming to the virtualization concept. Okay, and normally and coming to the next one, this virtualization could be provided with the help of virtual machine monitor, VMM. Otherwise we can say it as hypervisor. Okay, the main job of VMM, the VMM is nothing but virtual machine monitor. The main job of VMM is to control and monitor, the processor and memory and any hardware resources Okay, say for an example, we will be having an underlying hardware, and about to that, the VMM would be there. So once the request is coming from the user, and that request will be processed by the VMM, and then the particular hardware, the particular hardware resources will be allocated to that user. Okay, so the main job of VMM is to control and monitor the hardware resources of that particular cloud environment. Okay, and the main purpose of VMM, it provides an environment. It provides an environment where the user can install a different set of operating system on it and run different application on this operating system. So normally the hypervisor has two types. First one is type 1 and second one is type 2. The type 1 could be, say it as bare metal. So it is a Linux based operating system. So normally which is installed in a big server. So say for an example, if an organization wish to develop, wish to create a cloud environment, so they would have some set of big server which comprises of the huge amount of RAM or huge amount of hard disk. It has a rich set of hardware resources for providing the services to the employees of the particular organization. So once they have the big server in their particular organization, this bare metal would be deployed over that. The bare metal Linux based operating system would be deployed above the particular server. Okay, so whenever the employee of the particular organization issues the request, that request will be processed by the bare metal, then the needed resource will be given to the user. Okay, so this is how normally the hypervisor will work. Okay, and coming to the type 2, the type 2 which is called as the hosted model. Okay, so normally which is installed in our laptop or in a desktop to create a virtual environment for developing or creating or testing and deploying our own application in different set of operating system environment. Okay, and that could be achieved with the help of Oracle VM VirtualBox. It's an open source software. Otherwise it could be done. It's a VMware workstation, and we are having n number of VMM software in the market. Okay, so these are the two types of what we can say, the types of hypervisor. Okay, so let me show you the demonstration of the hosted model. How the virtualization environment can be created. Okay, just to give me a moment of time. Wait, so this is the Oracle VM Virtual Manager. Consider this is the Oracle VM Virtual Manager, and it's a it's a type 2. It's a type 2 VMM type 2. It's a VMM type 2 model. Okay, and what it does in the sense, normally, say in my laptop I have installed Windows 8 operating system. So above the Windows operating system, I have installed this Oracle VM. The Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. Okay, and this what the Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager provides in the sense, it enables the user to create any set of operating system above the Windows operating system. Okay, so whatever the hardware resources like the RAM, the hard disk and the networking resources, and all set of hardware resources can be availed virtually by the guest machine. So normally this Windows 8, the underlying hardware, this system, this machine is called as the host machine. As we have seen earlier. Okay, and above the Windows operating system, I have installed the Oracle VM VirtualBox, that is one type 2 hypervisor, and with the help of Oracle VM, I am creating one virtual machine. machine. Okay, I am creating one virtual machine. That virtual machine is called as the guest machine. That virtual machine is called as a guest machine. Just look at here. I have created one Linux environment. Okay, I have created one Ubuntu environment. I have created one Ubuntu VM environment. Okay, so where the resources, the hardware resources of this my underlying hardware can be availed virtually by this Ubuntu operating system, So when I'm creating this particular Linux, the Ubuntu virtual machine environment, I have given a 1 GB of RAM, I have given and 1 GB of RAM and 10 GB of hard disk, other set of default configuration. Okay, 1 GB of RAM, and another one 10 GB of hard disk. Okay, and in my laptop, so my laptop is equipped with 6 GB of RAM. And then what, I know my laptop is equipped with 500 GB of hard disk in the sense. Okay, and this 1 GB RAM will be availed virtually from the underlying hardware, and this 10 GB will be accessed virtually from the underlying hard disk. Okay, and once I turn off the system, once I turn off the particular Linux environment, once I turn off the particular guest machine, once I turn off the particular guest machine, then the 1 GB RAM will be given back to that underlying hardware. Likewise, the 10 GB will be given back to that underlying hardware. Okay, so this is how normally the virtual environment will be work. Okay, this is how normally the virtual environment will be work. I will show you the demonstration how it works. Okay, just give me a moment of time. Yeah, fine. So here, just look at here. I have the Linux operating system is running above the Windows operating system, right? So below to that the Windows operating system is running, and above to that, I have executor, I am running the Linux environment. Okay, Linux environment. Just look at here. So in my laptop is connected to the LAN. Okay, and this networking resource is also available virtually by this virtual machine. Okay, so just look at here. If I have typed something, the internet is accessing, right? Okay, so normally networking resources also can be accessed virtually. Okay, just we will see. Okay, so in my Windows, I'm gonna check my I'm gonna retrieve my IP address of my laptop. Okay, yeah. Okay, so here you just look at here. This is the the IP address of my laptop, which goes for 192.168.40.219, right? So this is the physical the physical environment. This is the physical laptop, right? The IP address of my physical laptop. Okay, and for the virtual environment, what the IP address would be? Let us check. Yeah, just look at here. 10.0.2.15, which means that the networking resources of my own laptop is being accessed virtually. Okay, Okay, so this is the thing I wish to convey over here. And also the 1 GB of RAM, the RAM and the hard disk, and all the hardware resources of my underlying hardware will be accessed by this virtual machine virtually. Okay, and hopefully let me shut down the system. So that I will get my system will be a little bit faster. Okay, and sorry for the delay. Let us go back to the slide. Hope I have given a proper example for this type 2 hosted model. Okay, and now we will move on to the next part of the slide. Okay, so what are the need of virtualization in this sense? So normally in a traditional environment, if we wish to install and set up a new server, what are the steps that we need to follow? In the sense, first we need to inventory for a new machine. Next, we need to purchase the new machine, right? Okay, so once we purchase the new machine, then we have to format the machine. Then we need to install the required operating system, and above the operating system we need to install the services which the server has to provide. And next we need to look for the security patches and the appliances are to be added to the particular server. And for all this set of operation, a reasonable amount of time would be spent, as well as the capital and operational expenses would be involved. Okay, capital and operational expenses will be involved. What is the meaning of capital expenses? In the sense, the initial amount that we are going to invest for purchase a new machine and for purchasing a operating system and for purchasing and additional applications. Okay, and coming to the operational expenses, which means that once the system has been deployed in an organization, then we need to maintain the particular machine, then we need to maintain the particular environment, right? So the cost which are incurred for maintaining such in the environment, so that cost could consider as an operational expenses. So normally the traditional environment which has the capital expenses as well as capital expenses plus operational expenses are being involved. Okay, so this could be the amount of time, the huge amount of money could be easily it could be easily reduced or could be easily eradicated with the help of the cloud computing environment. So whatever the services or whatever the machine that we are in need, we no need to purchase physically, we no need to purchase physically. Rather, what we can do, we can approach the cloud service provider. To provide such kind of machine, to provide such type of machine. Say for an example, if I need a Windows server, so I can simply approach the cloud service provider to provide such type of environment, and we can scale up and scale down the resources and whatever the resources that are being related to that particular server for delivering the services to the end users. Okay, and the disadvantages of the traditional environment can be easily eradicated with the help of the cloud service provider. Okay, and coming to the disadvantages of the traditional environment, so as we have seen just before, so what are the cons of traditional environment in the sense, first one is capital and operation expenses involved, obviously, and second one, a lot of effort has to be exerted by the IT administrator for purchasing the new machine or for deploying such kind of environment in an organization. Okay, and much time to install, much time has to be spent to install and deploy such kind of environment in an organization. Okay, and obviously this set of disadvantages can be easily eradicated, this set of advantages can be easily reduced with the help of cloud computing environments. Okay, and coming to the next one, how this virtualization can be provided in a private cloud environment and in a public cloud environment. Okay, in a private cloud environment, we have to use virtualization management software package or private cloud management solution at the data center. The particular data center is residing in a particular organization, and above the data center we need to install a VM, we need to install the virtual machine software. That could be any software. Okay, and through that software, the service or the resources could be shared among the users of the particular organization. So in a public cloud environment, it could be achieved with the help of Amazon EC2. So normally the EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. Elastic Compute Cloud. So the Elastic Compute Cloud, normally what it does in the sense, it provides an environment to create a machine virtually, and in it we can create and deploy our own application in a particular virtual machine. Okay, so this is how normally the virtualization can be provided in a cloud computing environment. Okay, and coming to the next one, let us see how the traditional computing architecture looks like. Okay, so what it has in the sense, so initially it has underlying hardware, it comprises of the RAM and the hard disk, and any IT related hardware resources, as I have said earlier. And about the underlying hardware, the operating system would be installed. Okay, so what is the purpose of operating system? Obviously you all know. So it acts as an intermediate between user and the hardware. And it also provides an environment to create and deploy our own application. Okay, and about to the operating system, what we are having in the sense, we will be having an application. So this is how normally the underlying hardware. So these set of hardwares are dedicated one. This could not be shared among the users that are being residing in the organization. So this is one of the disadvantages of the traditional computing architecture, and everything is dedicated. And so these things are appear physically. Okay, so I have already explained the difference between physical environment and the virtual environment, right? The physical environment in the sense, and everything is available physically, and whatever the things that we are having, everything will be dedicated to that particular user. So this is how normally the traditional computing architecture looks like. Okay, so in the next slide we are going to see how the cloud computing architecture looks like. Okay, so in a cloud computing architecture, so as like in traditional computing architecture, we are having an underlying hardware. Okay, and about to the underlying hardware, we are having an VMM. So what do you mean by VMM? What do you mean by VMM? Virtual machine monitor. What do you mean by VMM? Virtual machine monitor. So it acts as an intermediator. Or it acts as a broker, between between the user and the hardware. Okay, between the user and the hardware. Okay, and what the particular hypervisor does in the sense, so once the user say for an example, U1 is requesting to install an Ubuntu operating system, with 1 GB of RAM, with a 1 GB of RAM and 10 GB of hard disk in the sense, and once the request will be issued to the particular environment, this particular hypervisor will process the incoming request. Once the requested resources are available in that particular environment, then those sort of resources will be given to the user. For creating their own virtual environment. Okay, and above the hypervisor, what we are having in the sense, the guest operating system would be there, the application would be there. So this guest operating system could be anything, could be of anything. Okay, and then based on the needs of the user, and also the applications also based on the needs of the user. Say for an example, so here if the user only wishes to create an Ubuntu operating system, that could be created virtually. Okay, so this environment is created virtually. Okay, say for an example, this underlying hardware is having 100 GB of RAM. So just for an example, I'm telling this scenario, 100 GB of RAM, 1 TB of hard disk in the sense, and this 1 GB will be allocated. This 1 GB will be allocated from this 100 GB only. Okay, as well as this 10 GB will be allocated virtually from the 1 TB only. Okay, and once the user one has completed his process, and this virtual machine is going to be down in the sense, going to be shut down in the sense, going to be turned off in the sense, then whatever the resources that are given to this particular virtual machine, that will be given back to that environment. Okay, so this is how normally the virtual environment can be created. And the resource allocation, and once the resources has been released, and that will be brought back to the environment, everything will be done with the help of this hypervisor. Okay, say for an example, if another user gives a request, in order to create a Fedora environment, with 1 GB of RAM, and with the 20 GB of hard disk in the sense, that request will be processed by this hypervisor, and once the request has been processed, and the resources will be given back to the user, and if it is available, okay, and another guest operating system can be created, and user 2 can execute their own application. So likewise, so we can create n number of virtual environment, Okay, so once the particular virtual machine is going to down, and whatever the resources that the particular VM is using, the particular virtual machine using, that will be given back to okay, and that will be taken by that particular VMM. The VMM stands for virtual machine monitor, or it could be say it as hypervisor. So this is how normally the cloud computing architecture looks like. Okay, next we are going to see what types of virtualization. Okay, so normally we are having 4 types of virtualization. First one is hardware virtualization, and second one is server virtualization, and third one is OS virtualization, and fourth one is storage virtualization. Okay, so let us see one by one. First one, hardware virtualization. Hardware virtualization in the sense, the particular VMM is directly installed on hardware system, then it is called as the hardware virtualization. The main job of the particular hypervisor is to control and monitor the hardware resources, any type of hardware resources. Just we have seen in the previous slide, right? Just we have seen in the previous slide, how the cloud computing architecture looks like, because above the underlying hardware, the particular VMM will be installed. If it like this, in the sense, then this particular type of virtualization comes under hardware virtualization. Okay, and coming to the next one, server virtualization. What does it mean? In the sense, this VMM software is directly installed on server system, then if the particular VM is installed in a server system, then it could be said as a server virtualization. Okay, and in a big organization, if they have some, if they have server, if they wish to create a single physical instance into multiple virtual instance, then they would go for server virtualization. Okay, so mainly the server virtualization is created for for load balancing, say for an example, I will give you an example. So just give me a moment of time, let me erase this scribble. Yeah, fine. Okay, I will give you an example of server virtualization. Say for an example, initially I am having one server. Say about to that I have installed a virtual machine in the VMM, in the sense. Okay, so initially this server deals with 100k requests per second, in the sense. So in a moment of time, you suppose it crosses to 1000, it crosses to 1000k requests per second, in the sense. And with the help of VMM, I can create another server virtually. Okay, and what it does, in the sense, it provides a load balancer virtually, in order to handle the humongous number of requests. Okay, so this could be normally easily done with the help of server virtualization concept. Okay, and coming to the next type, operating system virtualization. So this VMM is installed on a host operating system. Okay, so I have explained an Oracle VM, right? Because so the underlying operating system is Windows 8. So about to that, I have installed the Oracle VM, and with the help of VMM, I have created a virtual machine with with Ubuntu operating system. So normally, if you have installed a VMM about to the operating system, about to the host operating system, then it is called as the operating system virtualization. Okay, and next one, the storage virtualization. So normally it is the process of grouping the physical storage from multiple network storage devices so that it looks like a single storage devices. If it does so, then it is called as a storage virtualization. Okay, and normally I have given an example for storage virtualization with the help of Google Drive. Okay, so we can say that also. Okay, so when you are creating a Gmail account, initially the 15 GB will be allocated. Initially the 15 GB allocated virtually. Say for an example, how it could be done in the sense. So surely everybody, you are having a Gmail account, right? You can check it out there. So okay, once you created a Gmail account, and from 0 bytes to up to 15 GB, the maximum threshold value is 15 GB. Okay, so whenever the user is whenever the user is adding that particular account, so the particular G Drive API will check the particular G Drive API. API will check. Say for an example, if I am going to store 1 GB amount of content into the G Drive, the G Drive API will check how much amount of memory, how much amount of storage is needed in order to store the particular document. Okay, say for an example, if the API predicts 1 GB has to be needed, in the sense, then from 0 byte to 1 GB, that will be allocated virtually. Okay, and maximum 15 GB. Okay, so initially, okay, when you are creating a Gmail account, so this 15 GB will not be allocated in a single stretch. Okay, and it will be up to 15 GB, the memory will be allocated in an incremental manner. That will be allocated in an incremental manner only. Okay, so in the initial stage itself, we do not have a 15 GB of content. We do not have 15 GB of storage. Okay, so what the virtual, based on the virtualization concept, how it could be done in the sense. So whenever you are adding upon content, into that Google Drive, the particular the drive limit will be extended incremental manner. Okay, so this is how normally the storage visualization could be done in a cloud computing environment. Okay, so very thank you guys. I'm very happy to share my ideas with you all. So in the next video, we're just going to see Yeah, we're just going to see about the virtualization technologies and server virtualization. Okay, and happy to see you through this video, and very thank you guys. We will see on the next video. Thank you guys.